Hey you guys, Lady T here with Romance Review TV, and yes, no intro on this one. I wanted to go ahead and jump into this one. This was a crazy episode to say the least. Now, I will say the hideaway was open in this episode. We had those crazy tweets, as well, and then the fallout for something that was said at Casa Amor. So we're going to talk about all of this, but before we do, take a second to make sure you're subscribed to the channel for all updates, and please don't forget to like and share. So, as we remember from Friday episode, we had the recoupling ceremony, which left Courtney and Mackenzie in the bottom two. And of course, as we all know, Courtney was the one that was sent home, as technically she really didn't have anybody throughout this experience that she really connected with. It also brought one couple back together, which was Isaiah and Sydney. And we did have the shenanigans of Phoebe and Chad with this whole thing because he's coupled up currently with Mackenzie. But of course, as we know, Phoebe is making a mess in the villa once again with Chad's help. And of course, we had this whole thing where Mackenzie walked in on them at this moment, not knowing what's going on. And looked like Phoebe got an ego boost from what just happened. So now we're in this particular episode and we see this whole conversation in the beauty room. And of course, Phoebe is a part of the conversation. She decides to come in and tell Mackenzie that she kissed Chad. Now, as much as she wanted to do this in secret, but then come after the fact and tell her to her face, yeah, she being real messy right now. She's been messy since Casa, and obviously Love Island producers knew exactly who to bring on this show. Obviously, she's the female villain in this season at this point, and she has no problem embracing that character. But, at this point, she pretty much dropped that bombshell on Mackenzie. So now Naja get a text message about the hideaway. The hideaway is now open once again, and the couple that was voted in, which I was kind of surprised, which was, of course, Deb and Jesse. Now, there's a lot to be said about Deb and Jesse. I know I had my particular feelings in the beginning, and as we will see with these tweets, people had their thoughts about this couple too, but nonetheless, they were the ones that were selected to go into the hideaway. And I was wondering how this was going to go down. He came in enjoying swinging on that pole while she watched. So she says she got a little hot and bothered behind it, and he was more than happy to oblige by doing a whatever little pole dance for Deb. Now, outside the villa, we had a conversation with Phoebe because after she was just finishing up kissing Chad in secrecy, she decided to go and pretty much let Joel know that, you know what, as much as I think we're really cool and all, I'm about to throw you in the friend zone. And the interesting thing is, I don't know what she was expecting, because it looks like she was waiting for a reaction from him, and he was like, okay. And she just sat there staring at him. I guess maybe she's used to guys groveling and Joel didn't. So they just hugged it out and called it a day and talked. She was like, oh, I'm so glad that this conversation went over well. And Joel knew the writing was on the wall. He knew that Phoebe was not interested in him. And he probably knows a little bit about the history in the villa as well. So then it was Chad's turn to talk to Mackenzie now. And so these two are now in the friend zone because at this point there is no connection with the two of them. She also was made aware of that kiss by Phoebe, and so of course she made him aware that she knew about it, which it should have been his responsibility to have that conversation. But Phoebe is good at beating these guys to the punch, to get her 2 cents in, as if she's looking out for the girl. But at the same time, it's a way to set that other person off and trigger them. So she knows exactly what she's doing. And for any of the guys that sign up with, Phoebe in these situations, look like to me, you should pretty much get a heads up of what's coming your way. And if you choose to be a part of that, then whatever comes your way, you're going to have to deal with the outcome, because Phoebe has been messy, like I said, from day one since she got to Casa. But either way it goes, look like Chad and Mackenzie hug it out and they're moving forward. So back in the hideaway, these two are playing some type of hand game or patty cake or whatever it is. To them, they're having big fun. So if they like it, I love it. But it's not as typical of what you would find should be going down in the hideaway, I guess. But hey, it's whatever they choose to do in the moment. So now it's bedtime and the night is over. The next day, we wake up to a conversation in the beauty room. So they were asking Phoebe about, her exploration with Chad and everything. And Mackenzie jumps into this whole thing talking about, well, whenever he talked about you, he downplayed it. And, Phoebe was like, why would he go into detail about me if he put you in the friend zone at the same time? And Mackenzie was like, well, I'm just trying to let you know, girl, I'm looking out for you. And I'm like, both of y'all are looking shady right now, because Phoebe said by telling her about the kiss, she was looking out for her. And Mackenzie, by telling her that, he's downplaying conversation with her name in it, she's looking out for her too. Whatever. So now everybody is having the conversation because of the fact that they have now came out of the hideaway, Jesse and Deb. Pretty much, Deb talked about how she got her first prom kiss. So they really didn't do anything. They did say they got a little bit closer, but nothing of anything major. Just, fun stuff and a kiss. Okay. So now Phoebe decides to go to chat about the conversation she had with Mackenzie about playing it down and how he talked about her. And Chad is like, well, why would I go into depth about how I feel about you to somebody that I am trying not to be in a couple with? And so, Phoebe was like, well, yeah, that didn't make sense. But at the same time, validate that for me. Did you actually say that? And after all that whole conversation about how he didn't like what was said, he turned around and said, well, to be honest, I didn't really talk about you a lot or play it down. So actually, I guess Mackenzie was correct. He did play it down, but by the time they got through with the conversation, it got lost in the sauce. So now we have an argument, a heated one started between Mackenzie and Phoebe. And these two are going back and forth about the he say, she say of the downplaying, and Mackenzie looking out for her. And I know what I said, and I know what you said, and I know what Naja told me. And Naja asked me a question, and Mackenzie's like, I just wanted to answer that question. And at this point, it was just an infinite loop of nothing. With Naja actually watching off from the side, because she kind of did stir the pot a little bit around this whole conversation. But nevertheless, they decided to drop it because it wasn't going anywhere. So now Isaiah get a text message saying that it is time to hear what people on the outside online is saying about your relationships. One of the ones, which was the first one, which was about how Zeta is in first class and, of course, Timmy is in coach. Then this other question, which was how Phoebe still have a thing for Isaiah, Joe, Chad, and the list goes on. Because for a minute, she came in trying to come after Chad's with 2 Z's as well. Then the one that had the fake relationship, which they was talking about Jesse and Deb. And they kind of took a little offense to that. But this is the one that set the rest of the show fire. Okay, or set it on fire, I should say, which was this whole thing about what was said in Casa Amor by Isaiah about comparing Sydney's appearance to Phoebe's natural beauty. And okay, so when the first look came out earlier today, I did get to see the comments. It became a firestorm. And I kind of want to go over this part with you guys. I would, normally I would recap what happened in this particular episode or at this point and with these particular scenes. However, it's divided. One thing they are saying is that Isaiah screwed up. Okay. The other thing is that they also feel like he made a mistake. It was in conversation. It was in passing, which is the same thing Zeta tried to comfort, Sydney with. The other thing is there are a lot of the fans on social media that did not like the fact that Love Island production team even brought this whole tweet to the forefront. And the cameras were right front and center. And this is why a lot of the cast members from different seasons, from different shows, talk about the effect of how production and reality TV do to cast members. Now, granted, that was a jacked up thing for him to say. Do I think that men value looks? Men are visual. Absolutely. But him saying that to the guys, then we had Jeff dragged into this whole situation, and Naja really checked him talking about, don't you lie to me. And I'm like, okay. So, I mean, and he admitted, it was something that came up in passing. And then Phoebe is feeding into all of this stuff because at the same time, she also heard about Jeff saying how, she's a looker and she's different and all this kind of stuff. So the boys are kind of getting raked under the coal with this one. But at the same time, Isaiah had to take accountability for what he said. But a lot of the fans did not like that this particular tweet was brought to the forefront. Now, granted, the tweeter said exactly what she thought she saw and heard when they were in Casa Amor. But I guess because it's been several weeks, they got a clean slate at this point. It seemed like Isaiah don't even remember what was said, the context or whatever it was. Jeff did remember it. Jeff dropped a dime. And, I mean, it was messy, to say the least. Now, Jeff did go over to Isaiah and say, look, dude, you're going to have to go talk to her. She is messed up right now about that tweet. And the fact that Sydney feels that instead of comforting her in a moment, she felt that he was mad at her, which is, opposite of what Zeta was saying. Like, no, he was mad at the tweet. These two girls, Naja and Phoebe, goes and, and tell the whole story about what Jeff said, about what Isaiah said. And, she was asking, did you hear anything about it? It was just a mess, to say the least. And it's so unfortunate because at the same time, he's struggling, but it was jacked up. He's hurting too, and that's what a lot of the fans were saying on social media earlier today. She is pretty much devastated because she don't want her appearance to be compared to another woman, and it's mess. It's a mess. Now, in the meantime, Phoebe is smiling, talking about, ooh, the tension is so thick we can cut it with a knife. But looking at us, we are all good now. Chad did ask her, do you know anything about this? And, did you hear anything in Casa? And he was like, no. I mean, she was like, no, he would have never said anything to me. Then we have Mackenzie give this whole table with Isaiah there, this lecture about, is that what men think about us? And this, that, and the third. And listen, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Women also like to look good, so we do things to ourselves to make us feel good and make us appealing and also make us look and feel attractive as well. So, I mean, appearance is something. Women also want guys that look good. The 6-packs, the 6 figures, the 6 foot tall. So, we all got things that we like to see, okay? But what was necessary here was this conversation between these two. And we kind of got left with a cliffhanger on this one because of the fact that she left it with saying, I don't know where we're going to go from here. And of course, he's devastated. My fear is what happens after he gets out, because there probably is a group of fans that are pissed off with him, as he has been made instantly the villain at this point, the male villain of the show. And that's going to be tough coming out on the outside of this thing, because as much as he got support from what we saw earlier today in social media, I can guarantee you there's a subset of people out there who are also not happy with him. So I want to see where we go from here. They already chastised Sydney for going back to somebody that, did this whole thing. That's the crazy thing about the ultimate test of Casa Amor. I mean, it's up to you whether you want to partake, but you also got to deal with the outcome when it's all over, and you just never know when it could come back and bite you in the butt. Okay, so that was a mouthful. Let me know your thoughts. Let's get the conversation started. Down in the comment section, what did you think about this whole tweet that was presented? Do you think it should have been brought to the forefront? Do you think Love Island producers should have maybe not hit this particular situation? Or, I want to know what your thoughts is. Do you think these two should stay together and fix this? Was it a mistake on his part? I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. So let's get the conversation started. And until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you soon. Bye.